In New Jersey, there was a student who was upset with budget cuts in New Jersey. So she began to create a Facebook page, and within a week on Facebook, 18,000 students had signed up on her Facebook page. And so when you saw the protest in New Jersey 2 weeks ago, that was totally student-driven. So I appreciate the role that adults play. But the only way this movement becomes effective is when we fully mobilize young voices. Imagine a young female or a young male walking up to the President of the United States and asking him, why won't you let me sit next to your daughters in your private school? Now, some folks may call that radical. And I know some folks may say, man, I don't know, that's a little radical. But remember, I go back to Lanes. 1959, Dr. King was called a radical by Roy Wilkins. Malcolm X comes along, all of a sudden, Dr. King's a moderate. Understand, every movement has got to have radicals. Because the people right now likely calling you radicals. But you go get you some real radicals, all y'all gonna be moderate real quick. But the point is, you have to use all of those weapons at your disposal in this movement. And so I'm telling you right now, look, if I'm sitting here in D.C. and I know full well the president or the first lady, they're dropping their kids off, I'm telling you right now, they will see signs every single day, why won't you let my child sit next to yours? Because I have a fundamental problem with politicians and civil rights leaders being against choice, being against vouchers, and having their kids in private school. I mean, it's simple. If you believe in public school that much, send your children there. But they don't want to be honest about it, because what they'll all tell you privately is they know that school system sucks and they want the best education for their particular child. And so it's targeting them exactly where they are, and that's why I believe it's really about mobilizing those parents, mobilizing those students, and having them involved. And I'll tell you, that was a great video. Wonderful video. One mistake. There were 10 speakers shown, one student. In the video was indicative of what I'm talking about. All adults, one student. The children will always get a different response than adults, because they will look at the adults and say, you have a political motive. They will say that you have a business motive, but it's hard for any political leader to look a kid in the eye and to call them wrong for what they're doing. And so we have to get the kids. You saw 33 states across this country where students on college campuses rallied to protest education cuts. That's the kind of activism that has to come to this movement. You've got to have children who are trained, who are educated, who are taught what is happening in their schools, and say, we need you to be in this game with us, to say the education that we're getting here is subpar, it is inferior. Trust me, when you mobilize the children, it will totally change the dynamic of this entire debate. Leads me to the third M, and that's messaging. Now look, being in media, I get messaging, I understand all the talking points and everything. But let me give you an example, and I heard it earlier, how messaging plays a critical role. As someone who is in media, I use words every day. I get paid to talk. Someone said about this whole movement, competition. I believe that's the wrong word to use. I believe it's about complementing, not competition. Because if you ever use competition, what's the natural result of a competition? I win, you lose. Competition means you on top, I'm not. If you tell someone we are competing, then they're going to do anything possible to beat you. But if you say, no, we're not competing with you, we're complimenting what you do. because the competition brings out the fight in the other person. And that's exactly how this whole battle is being framed. This battle is being framed, oh, you're now in competition with us. And so we're not going to let you take our dollars or take the children or change the rules. So the messaging is critical. And so that's what it boils down to. The messaging is different when you begin to break down the other person's argument. When they begin to say, well, this program will not help the needs of children. Really? The program we have here says these are the 10% worst schools. My definition, that's the most needy. Then you talk about when they say, well, all the students won't be able to take advantage of vouchers. I've heard the president say that. How does messaging work? Well, Mr. President, are you not a huge supporter of charter schools? He will then say, yes, I am. Is the charter school process not selective? Then, Mr. President or Secretary Arnie Duncan, are you not supportive of magnet schools? Yes, we are. Are they not selective? Do magnet schools benefit every child? See, the reason I know that to be the case, I went to magnet schools. We only had some 175 slots. If there was a demand of 700 students to get into our magnet school, they only picked 175. So the arguments that they are using against this particular movement are the same arguments that exist for what they support. But it's hitting them on the messaging of their rationale, and that to me I think is vital. And so that connects with the parent in a different way. And so earlier when I mentioned the holistic approach to education, when I said, oh, no. And if I say it, no. I support public, private, magnet, charter, whole ball of wax. That all of a sudden changes the dynamics, because what you're now saying is, I'm speaking to a current system that has all of this as a part of the education pie. So basically what you're telling me is you are against this slice, but you want me to support your slice. Messaging all of a sudden changes. Now begin, when your messaging changes, you're now connecting with the parent in a much different way. I think it's wrong for people who begin to talk about, well, if we have the choice and then we have the vouchers, then we're going to see other schools crop up and then create businesses. Do you know what that sounds to the average person? Oh, you're trying to get rich off us. And the opposition then uses that messaging against you to target the person who doesn't know. So the different words that are used are received in a whole different way. And so I think that's also taking the time to break down, how do we connect with the average person out there when it comes to this whole deal? You often hear also, and the president said this to me on Air Force One, Roland, I have no problem, with vouchers if they help all children. And then my response was, the message back was, is the current system helping all children? And so I'm breaking down their very arguments with their own talking points. It's hard to defend that. And that's, I believe, how we're able to go at them. And it's not having a philosophical debate. It's having in the gut, cut to the chase, talking to an everyday person conversation. That's how you break through. I'm telling you right now, if I'm in any debate and civil rights organizations are opposing me, I'm going to know before I walk into that room whether they kids get in private school. And I'm telling you, put me in a room full of other people and let them start screaming about taking money away. I will say in the meeting, where do your kids go? I'll tell you right now, within 5 minutes, I had a room turned against them in a heartbeat. Because the messaging is different. They don't want to talk about that. They don't want to talk about how they have the means to take advantage of a different system.